Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I am reposting a video that I am actually putting on Taro, which is a platform to help educate software engineers, give them the soft skills required to succeed on the job. More or less, that is the reason that you won't see me cursing a ton in this video, is that I'm afraid there's going to be a little bit too much visibility, and frankly, I don't feel like getting fired today. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that it helps you, especially if you are on the earlier end of your career. Have a good one, and I'll see you for some more systems design stuff next week. Hey guys, my name's Jordan. Now, if you're watching this video on Taro, you may have noticed that the majority of perspectives on there come from a lot of really distinguished, accomplished, and senior engineers. And while I'm certainly not going to go so far as to call them boomers, I will say that I hope to kind of offer some perspective of a junior engineer who's pretty recently out of school. So to give myself a little bit of an introduction here, if you haven't heard of me, I run a YouTube channel, and in addition to that, I have now worked at a couple of fan companies in both full-time and internship positions, as well as recently getting started in high-frequency trading, also as a software engineer. In this video, my goal is to keep my opinions as general as possible and only try and summarize the things that I've seen at all of the different companies that I've worked at, as opposed to just big tech. Okay. So let's imagine a hypothetical situation that maybe for many of us isn't actually so hypothetical. You just grinded for 4 years getting your degree, and you studied things from discrete math to operating and even distributed systems. So now you've finally gotten yourself that fancy software engineering job that you actually want, and basically really all you have to do is go ahead and write some REST endpoints, maybe change some stuff on a front end. It sounds pretty easy, right? The reality of the situation, though, is that being a student of computer science is extremely different than being a software engineer. And once you're kind of able to internalize and realize these differences between those two concepts, the sooner you will start moving from being just a junior engineer and, of course, towards that famous tech lead role. In this video, I'm planning on talking about 3 main concepts to kind of differentiate being a student versus an actual full-time hire, so stick around and find out. So point number 1 is fostering the ability to actually be able to determine what work to do on your own. So in school as a student, this is actually pretty simple because you have a professor who literally hands you an assignment and says go do it by a certain date. As a software engineer, this couldn't be further from the case. While maybe you'll start out with a mentor or a manager who actually gives you assignments and tells you what to do, the mark of an engineer that is progressing away from being super junior is one that can actually figure out what to do. Another point here is to think about why we actually do certain work so that you can pick what to focus on. In school, you do things because they're hard. You do things because they'll teach you to learn. On the other hand, on the job, that could not be further from the case. On the job, we work in a business. A business is there to make money, and as a result, we have to do things that are going to positively impact our stakeholders. In fact, for projects that are just hard and are just there for you to learn, those are the type of projects that we explicitly want to avoid. If you were just going to go refactor an entire code base from Java in like a Spring framework to TypeScript, that is completely useless. It's going to take a lot of developer hours, and it's not really helping anyone. You'll probably learn, but the truth is there's a lot of risk there, and you're probably just going to create bugs, if anything. So, what do we actually want to be doing? Well, generally speaking, we want to be picking out work that benefits the people that we are there to help out on our team, aka our stakeholders. Now, doing so isn't actually so easy. The reasoning for this is that oftentimes the work that you want to get done on behalf of your stakeholders might actually go ahead and interfere with the work of other people. These can be other engineers on your team, other teams of software engineers. Imagine that you wanted to build a feature for a stakeholder that is going to be hitting the back-end service of another team pretty frequently. However, it's actually possible that they're going to be using that feature so frequently that you may put too much load on the other team's service and might even take it down. This brings me to point number 2 of my video, which is that you will frequently receive resistance from either other engineers or other people in your company on the work that you want to do. When this happens, the mark of a good engineer is one that can navigate this situation of being told no and figure out how to either find some sort of middle ground or figure out how to convince them to let you do your work. The way that you'll do this is by leveraging your communication skills and convincing other people of the utility of your project, while also establishing that you have good fail-safes in place to make sure that there's not too big of a downside associated with it. What it means to leverage your communication skills is to utilize things like meetings, design docs, proposals, in order to make sure that you're actually aligned with not just both your stakeholders, but also other engineers that can be negatively impacted by the work that you're about to do. It's very important to get everyone else on board. Now, you may think, coming from school, that, the field of technology is so meritocratic, right? You get there, you write good code, you're all good to go. The reality of the situation is this is honestly a complex social web of people that you have to be able to deal with and maintain good relationships with. You might think that you can just go sit in front of your desk all day, code away, and talk to nobody. But the reality of the situation is that being able to establish yourself as not only a trusty, but a sociable and personable person is also going to benefit you greatly in terms of being able to get work done. Establishing a good rapport with these coworkers who gatekeep certain important systems within the company is going to make your job a lot easier when it comes time to making a proposal to give them. Of course, in school, it really doesn't matter if you're friends with your professor. It really doesn't matter if you get along well with the other students in your class, because the majority of the projects are individual, and frankly, you don't need approval from anyone to get them done. You just go ahead, go in your room, and you do them. In the real world, that is not the situation, and frankly, you need to work with people very, very often. Finally, let's move on to my last point, which I will dub, you can say no. Interestingly enough, in school, if a professor tells you to do something, you kind of just have to do it. I guess you could get bad grades, but for the most part, you know exactly what you have to do, how you have to do it, and you're pretty much told the methods which you should use. On the other hand, it is very commonly a thing in companies that either stakeholders, which are less familiar with your situation, or even possibly senior engineers who are just a little bit wrong within a given circumstance, are going to tell you things to do. For example, a stakeholder might want a given feature implemented, but the reality is it's not going to provide them that much utility, and it's going to be a massive pain in the ass for you to accomplish it. At the same time, you can actually push back on this. In fact, being a good software engineer is making sure that you do push back on this. If you embark on a project that is going to use up a ton of developer resources for very little marginal utility, it means that there is a massive opportunity cost of you and your team not doing something that could be more beneficial to your stakeholders. Again, what that means is that in the situation where your stakeholder comes to you with this request that's overall not that important, you need to come back at them and say, hey, I understand that what you want is important to you. However, the truth is it's not so easy to accomplish. Can I offer you some sort of middle ground solution where it takes us a lot less time to make it up, but say it is 75 or 80% as useful for you and maybe doesn't go the entire full way? Of course, there are going to be situations where you quite literally can't get out of a stakeholder request, but oftentimes you can work with them, and if you communicate properly, you can explain to them why what they're asking for is not always the best decision. The same thing actually applies for the advice and requests of other engineers on your team. Sometimes they may want things done a certain way, or sometimes engineers on other teams, similar to my previous point, are going to ask you to implement something on your service that interfaces with theirs. If this is going to ultimately cause huge risks within your services, possibly breakages, lots of on-call maintenance, you are fully within your right to push back on them. And of course, this is something that good engineers will do. Well guys, I hope that this video does help. I know that a lot of people want to envision software engineering as move fast and break things, but the truth is, a lot of the times, you're just navigating in a sea of no's. Code is not necessarily always an asset. It can oftentimes be a liability. And so embarking on major projects for the heck of it that involve you writing a lot of code are going to provide probably little utility and probably lots of risk to the team in terms of things potentially breaking. Overall, a good software engineer is one that is pragmatic, wants to do things in a simple way, and ideally looks for all of the ways that they can extract the maximum benefit from their hours of work. So guys, keep that in mind as you embark on your own software engineering journey. Remember, you don't want to be sitting there in front of 10 different monitors coding by yourself 8 hours a day. The truth is that being in a company is a complex landscape that you have to be able to work around and use your communication skills to deal with. Well guys, if you enjoyed this video, I would greatly appreciate if you could check out my own YouTube channel. It's a lot of distributed systems concepts, which not only do I think are fun, but it will hopefully give you the type of technical foundation that provides you with the concepts in order to get from a junior to senior engineer in your own company. Anyways guys, have a great day. Thank you for watching.